All right. Hello. Erev Tov. We continue. Torah Samach. We're in the middle of Sif Gimel. We said that there are paths in Torah that have great insight can't come into this insight except through possession of great wealth. And this kind of wealth, it's not the kind of wealth that is done by speculation and different kind of ashiras that people run after money. This ashiras is when a person lengthens and widens his days with additional kedusha every day. That's called long days, called longevity. It's called arifas yomim. This is called oldness, which is a keli, which is a vessel with which you get the wealth into it. And we said the way to get it is when you have Yira. Because this union of being dedicated to self-improvement, constant self-improvement, you can't do it on willpower alone. You need to have a driving force behind it that will keep you honest. Because this is the union of enlarging one days, widening one days, which is arichas yomim, which is longevity, is the kind of effort that people usually don't want to put in because it's something that you're doing against an opposition. They said that I don't know who they say it about the Basel Sharif or another one of those wunderkinds who were very, very young. He got up late and his father told him, why don't you learn Musa from the Yetzer Hara? He wakes up so early in the morning to tell you not to get out of bed early. So the kid said, that's not a good comparison because the Yetzer Hara doesn't have a Yetzer Hara that doesn't like him laying out. So you have a Yetzer Hara, that goes against this. Okay, now I have to add Kedusha. I have all kinds of manias that hold me back. It'll be 1,001. We said it can be when a person is ADD and he has to run away from reality. People like that. Whatever different kind of manias. Person can be
running away from reality.
Yeah, but it is a certain kind of condition, like with a lot of all kinds of fears, all kinds of anxieties, all kinds of whatever it is that prevent a person from getting up in the morning. Why does a person have a problem getting up in the morning? What's the big deal? You got to wake up sometime. What's the difference? Wake up early, wake up late. No, but the point is that people that may have anxieties, that have a predisposition of guilt and anxiety. Okay, waking up in the morning means to wake up, and the Yetzer Hara is already there, slapping me, right into the left, into the right. Now you wake up. You're going to wake up to this. I want to turn over to the other side, but we'll wake up next year. I just wake up. There's different kind of manias that the Yetzer Hara has for a person. And when you come, especially when you come to widen your days with additional kedusha, we're not talking about a one-time shot. a non-stop, every hour, every day after day, more and more and more, week after week, month after month. You can't breathe, when you sleep a little bit, it's like, so the SR comes in and stands on your way every single, step of the way. Look at physical wealth, just like wealth. Somebody wants to have a job, there's no pressure. To say that I wanted to meet him from Nosson, who was such a tzaddik. All his tzaddikim, all his students were tzaddikim. He didn't want to wake up, he didn't want to go and do Sazak. Took a job as a guard, undertaker in a cemetery. And he was sitting there, just saying Kodesh Baruch all day long. It's like nobody disturbed him or anything. So Nosson told him, resign your post, don't work here. He says, what? He says, because one day you won't have parnasa. Kodesh Baruch will take a kid from someone, Asa Halila, and give you parnasa. Don't stay there. There's people that they're that avoided their mean that much. It's okay. But that's somebody who is hell bent of becoming a multimillionaire. You can see what he has to go through. He has to go. He has to travel. He has to this. He has to that. And dedicate his entire life to be obsessed with the whole thing. That's Gospels. A wealth that gives experience but Torah, in the sense that is in a position of every step of the way, literally planting landmines and mountains along your way. So it's very easy to get discouraged, very easily to get distracted, very easy, to just, okay, do it every once in a while, do something, but all the time, you need a motor, you need a driving mechanism that can't let you let go. It keeps on driving no matter how, how hard it is. What is that's Europe. When you come to think of what's going to be, Olam Haba and everything, and the day is going to come sooner or later, whatever it is. You take a look, see throughout the generations, you read Siach Safek Kodesh, Nosson, his children, his grandchildren, his grandchildren. You take a look, you see, the current generations, and it's such a typical fry outlet. The only thing that matters is right now. Did I win or did you win? What does this mean? No. But what about everything that came until now? History, whatever. There was only, that everything was just preparation. Entire history, all the 1,000 years of history, just preparation for me to sit and while my day is doing shtuyot or run after money. Everything is now, and this one has to fail, this one has to break, and this one has to this, to that. Ultimately, all these things disappear, all these things that they don't mean anything. When a person has a yira, the yira keeps him honest out, keeps him honest. And the yira itself, that is the greatest treasure the person can have. That's the year of a person. It's a year of Hashem Yatzorah. This is the union of Chava. And the Rebbe explained that why does Yira enable a person to be wealthy? because it negates a condition that causes a person to be poor. What is this condition? It's being susceptible to the allure of women. Because that causes a person to fake all kinds, to be affected, with his behavior, with his speech, with his whatever it is. There's no that comes because a person's attracted to this kind of thing. He wants to get whatever it is. But when a person is Yira, he keeps him away from the allure of women. And this is Sheker Achem Vehevel Hayofi. So the thing is that the Rebbe tells us that it's a step process. And it is being attracted to the allure of women. It causes a person to fake his speech, to fake his behavior, to dress in such a way that that will cause him to be attractive and so forth and so on. And he says that somebody who is not careful, he is the one because he's not careful from the Hevel Hayofi, that the nonsense of the beauty of women. And then he says, this is what last week's parsha and so forth. Avraham and Yitzchak, when they came to places, as they all know the Yerushalayim, immediately they felt, according to the greatness of the kedusha that they possessed, they felt the beauty of their own wives. They said that Reb Noson's son, Reb Yitzchak, no, his grandson. He had a grandson, I think he had a grandson Yitzchak. So Reb Avram Sternatz, famous Reb Avram Sternatz, he was he married the daughter, the granddaughter of the Chervinevov, Rahman of Chervin. It's kids of Likutey Moharan and so forth and so on. So he got married to his daughter or granddaughter. It was a very, very special woman, very, very famous in Tzadekis, whatever it is. And he said the day after his marriage, not going after Shiva, the day after his marriage, I mean, they lived over there with this little room, whatever it is, it was his wife in the house, and his father came to visit him. Just passed. And he passed. And Reb Avram Sternatz just got married. He was looking at his wife. And his father came, the grandson of Noson, and gave him a pat. You already looking? Sean Cookster? This is not this generation. For my generation, there's a different demand. You're talking about people that live on a level of Kedusha that, Shmuel Shapira was also like that. Not looking. Avram and Sarah, they felt, according to the greatness of the Kedusha, the attraction to the beauty of their own wives. So immediately, they answered from themselves, their wives as if they were their sister. That's the reason that he says, how can Avram, be machshel, para, developed, say it's a sister. Why is not Orif Ne'iver? They said the minute that they came to that place, and he felt the godel of, of the view, he was susceptible to Hevel Hayofi. Immediately he asked, so as if he made a neder or whatever, as if he was Megarish, as it were. That's one of the terutzim that Some people give it doesn't matter, but the point is, the Rebbe said that according to when people feel that they're attracted, you should stay away from that. This is the word. He said, well, why did they do it? When Avimelech asked him, as Yitzchak, this is like Avimelech asked Avram Avinu, he says, what did you do? Why did you do this? Why didn't you tell me, that she's your wife? Wouldn't. So Avram says, there's no Yir Shemaim in this place. They would kill me for my wife. The minute he felt the kilkul ayira, so as far as he was concerned, his wife was like a sister. The Hakach Tikkun Avram, and then afterwards, Avram was Masak, and he elevated the Midas year, turned on the volume dialed up the year. He injected the situation, the land, the entire environment with Arichas Yomin. And it is said in the pasuk, "Vayagar Avram be'eretz Plishtim Yomim Rabin." Avram lived in the land of Plishtim many days. Why do we need to do that? Why do we need to know that? It doesn't say every single place how long he stayed there, didn't stay there, how long. What's the reason? The Torah tells us after this, Avram Avinu still lived as Plishtim Yomim Rabin. So the Rebbe says, no, it means that this is the tikkun that Avram Avinu, gave to the chisar and the lack of Yir Shamayim in Eretz Plishtim by widening his days. He added kedusha every single day, every single hour, every single week. And this is his Arichas Yomim. And with this, he injected the entire situation with Yir Shamayim. That was Masakin. Ifchinas Yir Hashem Tosif Yomim. The real Yir Hashem, not Yir from the fear from physical things or in Olam Hazim. Yir Shamayim is Tosif Yomim. He puts on more Yir, and this is how you zechet tefillin to Arichas Yomim. Afterwards, the Plishtim came again, and they spoiled again all tikkun of Avram Avinu as affected. We say Yitzchak Avinu came to Blau, whole thing came all over again. Melech, his wife. This time he didn't take his wife or whatever, but he was on the watch to find out what's she's a sister, she's not a sister, what's that? In other words, he was already mekalkel the tikkun of Avram Avinu. And it says, and all the be'eris, all the wells that Avram Avinu dug, that area, the Plishtim, they filled them up with sand again. They plugged them up. Although the slaves of Avram Avinu dug, they plugged up again. Sitma Plishtim, which means they spoiled, they damaged the Midas Hayira that Avram Avinu was mamshech to them. Okay, Sheba Yitzchak l'sham, when Yitzchak came there, he had to go through the process all over again. Render his wife as if she was his sister, stay away from her, and start digging wells. As it were, to Arichas Yamin. Ad Hashem Shich Sham Arichas Yamin. How do we know? The idea that it says, then, once he was Mamshech Yir Shamayim, then it was okay. Then she was mutter to him. Moshe Kosu, you take a look again, you say, Vayi kasher ochulu shamayomen. When he spent great longevity, great days, long days there, Yitzchak. Was doing whatever he was doing, found out, that she was his wife. It's the same thing when Yitzchak when he already was mamshich arichas yamim there, there's shamayim there. Then his wife became mutter to him again. And what happened then? By the fact that he was mamshich the arichas yamim. The next thing, he became extremely wealthy. Because that's all he said. Yes, Hashem Yatzar, yes, Hashem is the vessel, is Mamshich, that tremendous wealth. That he saw that land, that the land at the time, and he found a hundredfold to what he has sown. Because we said before, Arichas Yamim Yosef Tashiris. And the reason why Yira enables a person Tashiris, Misha Eno Yira, person that doesn't have Yira, and because of that, because he doesn't have Yira, he doesn't guard himself from the beauty of women. He comes to poverty. Don't covet her beauty in your heart. It is through, looseness in this Indian, a person gets a situation where he doesn't even have bread. Because wealth and the nonsense of beauty, the Hevel HaYofi. Hevel is also a vapor. Hevel, so why was something that's like not, doesn't mamoshes, we call it Hevel, like that. Shnafachim, the two opposites. Kashir Samarichas on Shalom. Now the Rebbe goes into deeper in Yonim, and he's saying Ashiris comes from the lengthening of the Neshama. The beauty is Mehesek Neshama. I have said B'shas Yitzias Tipa Zarias, when the tipa of there comes out, it has to be physically a situation where the breathing is stopped. From two reasons. Aleph, so Neshima won't chill the tipa, so it loses its efficacy. The thing is that what we don't understand this Indian of Rebbe in many places. He touches this Indian of Rea, of lung, Indian of heart. The Rea and the heart, the lung and the heart. The heart is the generator of heat. The heart works all the time. It's a muscle that never stops. The heat has to be regulated. That heat is regulated by the lungs. The lungs bring cold air from the outside, and it dissipates the heat of the heart. That's why the breath, when it comes out of a person's mouth, it is warm. Comes in, it's cold. When it comes out, it's warm. Body has this mechanism. It has, and there are many places that the Rebbe says about it. The Rebbe speaks about Rea a lot, and because the Rea is Mesugel to second, the Rea is Shon Re'iyah, so forth and so on. So this is, but the thing is that certain functions of the body that has to happen only when the temperature is right. We don't realize that our temperature, physically, everything is regulated to the nth degree every single second. There's heating that comes from the heart, and there's cooling that comes from the lung, and the balance between them. So this is after that when the Hippocrates has to go out, it has to be effective. It has to come out with certain kind of heat built into it. So the breath cannot be involved. It has to stop when it comes out so it doesn't get chilled. And the second, the person has a koyach to breathe out and to push things out from his body and to get things into his body. The thing is, it can't be from both situations at the same time. Either you hold, and if you push, you push. Same thing is Hilchos Chametz, right? Magolas Kalim. How can we kasher of something in water that you already kashered a lot of kalim and comments. We said because the kalim you put into boiling water is busy pushing out the chametz. It has absorbed the chametz from the water. If it's busy pushing out, it cannot be taken. That's why you're not supposed to leave it for a long time, because then it might take in from the chametz in the water. But it says, since the holding of the neshima is a must. Neshima, gets out air and brings in air. Because the pushing power is busy pushing out the people. You can't get out the ruach. You can have second neshima. That's why the neshima stops. That particularly, it has to stop. The ruach that came in, that the person breathed in before. The very some would say that the heat that is in the heart is mislabish in the tipa. The same thing, the ruach that a person took in before the tchias tipa is also the mislabish in the tipa. A hevel, that's the vapor that the person took in before. It is embedded in the pushing power. This is the thing that pushes the tipa out. And according to the purity of that vapor that the person took in with his breathing before it stopped, that talks about the purity and the eagerness of the baby that eventually comes out of this. How eager to Be'ez Hashem is going to be. And if the air that is taken in is totally pure, totally clean, has to do with the machshava, has to do with the person, keeping away from the sight, from the temptation of the hevel hayofi. This is the thing that purifies the hevel. That's the hevel, is not the tipa. We're talking about, our processes that are taking place, in the body, gashmis, with ruchnis. And we have absolutely no idea. We're like, what's the connection between breathing and this and that we're talking about? Yeah, because we don't know. Things are instantaneous. As actually tipas yotzet misholash al hevel, then this hevel is embedded there. As the gam kintzach v'nekiya, it was also clear. That makes the fetus and the baby also to be clear, clean, and pure. However, if it's that hevel is not pure, it's not clean. That muddies up the tipa as well. And Mimela, the baby that comes out of it is also muddied up. See, in this, the thing is that in early Matzilus, it's kulotert. In early Mabriya is mostly good and a little bit of bad. In early Matzir is half and half. In early Masio, this world, is mostly bad and a little bit of good. So when there is any chance of bad, of impurities will enter the process, it immediately comes in. And this is that it comes out. And this is what it says. How do we know that that vapor that we're talking about? It's a very, very dakas dika to understand that how a person behaves influences the purity of the air that he breathes in, and so forth and so on. It ultimately results in whatever comes out of him and comes out in the baby. There's in the Torah, in The Rebbe says that the Misnagdim don't want people to go to tzaddikim to daven. So they think that they're also Yeshamayim, they are Yeshamayim, so they can daven also. And not only that they don't want people to go to tzaddikim, he said themselves don't go to tzaddikim. And the Rebbe says that if they had seichel, they had any kind of seichel whatsoever, they think that if they were misana, they were fasting, and you're talking about tzaddikim of 200 years ago. You're talking about today. You know, people, the misnagdim, the people that 200 years ago, that were fasting and like, they think that they're already tzaddikim, they can daven, and they prevent people from going to tzaddikim emes. He says if they had eyes, they would look at themselves. They said they're not only that they didn't totally cleanse themselves out, they even haven't cleansed themselves from the taiva of their own father. It's still instilled in them. So no things. This is there. He explains the process. When a person is careful not to be susceptible, if you're nothing, it influences the kind of air that he has inside and so forth and so on. And it says, people are but vapor. What does it mean? I don't know. So, euphemistically, he says, what do they count for? It's like he says, it's Adam lehevel dam. That Adam resembled Hevel. Hevel was his son. Right? So that's what the Medrash says. I mean, they were Adam lehevel dam. So what does it mean? What that Adam Avinu had, that Hevel, his son, resembled him. That's what the Gemara comes to say. He says, no, it's like Adam Hevel means Kefir Hevel, according to the vapor, to the purity, the sanctity of the Hevel. Kenisabas of blood. That's the way that the blood comes out. Prinas Hevel bnei Adam ke Hevel umlabim uzanas aros. Hevel ayofi. The vapor of beauty says because the beauty of the offspring is going to be commensurate to with the hevel that came in. I want to take this particular thing take a step back. One of the things that people find difficult to understand and to internalize is how vital it is to connect someone to the tzaddik emes. The Rebbe says, well, why is the Rebbe speaking here about inyanim like but to do with us? It's like that. The Rebbe says that eitzes tzaddikim, when a person gets an eitzah from someone, a person gets advice from someone, it's as if he's mikabel zerah from him. Because when a person gives advice to someone, it's like he's planting a seed. Okay? And that person who accepts the advice and carries it out, whatever's going to grow, whatever's going to become, whatever action he takes, depends on the advice that he got. But if the advice that he got is already mixed, good and bad together, let alone if it's mixed total bad together, it's mushchas mefakilo. The Rebbe calls it misuin the klipa. It's called merge the klipa. He says, Chava, he said, the snake, he said, he gave me an eitzah and I ate. But she uses the lashon nishayin nishon nisuin. He married me. What do you mean married? Because getting an eitzah from somebody is like getting married. because this is when the brain and the intent of the advisor is injected into the person who receives the advice. Because one of them, there's no difference between ultimately, the act. When a person gets married, then it happens in the Gashmis, to the Kavanah Baruchnis.
Sorry for the smell.
The Torah is called to share. We see this kind of principle that repeats itself many times. The Torah is called to share. To share Berov Yoyetz. Salvation is according to the great amount of good aids a person gets. I'm sorry. To share Berov Yoyetz. The Torah is called to share. This is why is the Torah called to share? It says to share mateshes kol chashavodim. It tires out a person. Person learns Torah. It sucks the koyach out of a person. So the same thing is, person's marriage. It saps out the koyach. Why do we take these two inyan and one of them is to do with, with the person's intimate lives, and this is why mix these two together? Because the ultimate is the same thing. This is Beruch, this is Begashmis. The Arizal talks about it at great length. So when it's Suyan, so of Gibor, Chalitza, deep in Yom. And so that's why when somebody covets the beauty of women, he doesn't realize, but his entire mind is being soiled. What he gives over to others is already mixed, good and bad together. The advice that he gives is already Odom lehevel, whatever is going to result from his advice is commensurate with the purity of his own heaven. Somebody asks you advice, were you careful? The person needs to know himself. If not, stay away from giving advice. But what happens if you have to give advice? So give the advice you got from somebody, from your Rav that you trust and is clean, and you just pass it over. Don't put your brain into it. Your brain will inevitably corrupt the whole thing. Because the advice of a person, and ultimately, therefore, the advice, the seed of the person, what doesn't mean if it's spiritual or physical, is Odom lehevel, according to how sanctified you are, how sanctified you were. That's the thing that ultimately determines what is the purity of the advice that you're giving, of the seed that you're planting. Somebody who is attracted by women, this hefsek hanashim, this stoppage of breathing, becomes something which is part of his personality. So this is why he's the opposite of a shiras. Shiras come from arichas hanashim, the lecting of hanashim. But let's make komine ashiras. Dogon, lonos, asobim, matches, all kinds of metals. Everything comes because of the rain. I'd like to, to sort of stop in this particular Indian. We will continue with the same, but it is so condensed with so many different inyanim, details and so forth. So it's just like we'd like to stop on that particular inyan that a person needs to realize. I'm going to come. I'm going to teach Likutey Moharan. What do you want? It's Likutey Moharan. It's verbatim. What do you want? Yeah, what do you do when you're away from Likutey Moharan? You're teaching. You're giving over. So if you're giving over what you received from somebody before, they said, no, listen, what can you do? I mean, you do the best you can. People need to get advice. People need to learn. Fine. But don't interject your own opinions. Don't give eitzes to anyone. Stay away. Unless you got this eitzah from somebody who's clean. Asher Aish that never says anything that he did not receive from his Rav. It's a big Yitzhahara, to make variations on the theme, like to check his own opinion, whatever. Remember, at the day when there's the big Afghana, there was the big demonstration in Yerushalayim. It says Tefillah. Some of the written articles, the Shiva Baruch who said that they will die and not enlist. In the from public, I'm talking about fragment first. What can you expect from them? And he said, we will enlist and we won't die. Why? Because we have a problem with youth at risk. What do you want them to do? You have to go somewhere, or you have to run around the streets, whatever. The problem with this is there was always youth at risk. Always. Beis HaMikdash, who lit the first fire in Beis HaMikdash? I mean, Titus didn't do it himself. He had a chief of staff. He is the one that put the first torch to Beis HaMikdash. Who was he? He was a son of a very well-known Yuchasdik Jewish family from Alexandria. Going off the derech. Avraham Avinu, according to the Medrash, that had 200 children from the Pilagshin, and now the two children, of Rabbi Yitzchak. So 202 children according to this Medrash. But they said we had 4 maybe. Now Pilagshin 2 minimum. Minimum 4, maximum 202. Okay. 1 out of all these things remained on the derech. Everybody else fell in the derech. Youth at risk. Yitzchak Avinu. Oylo Tmimo goes in the Mizbeach. 50% of his kids went off the derech. They're still protesting the Palestinian flags all over the world. That youth at risk, they fell off the derech from Yitzchak Avinu. It's not your place to say what should be, what shouldn't be. Why? Because the Vlad is according to Hevel, how careful you are being captured by Hevel HaYofi. So what should you do? You listen to G'dayla Adar. G'dayla says, though, it says you do not enlist, you do not enlist. Finish. This Rav has this opinion, this opinion. Every generation, somehow, there's G'dayla Adar. They are the one who lead and everybody follows them. You don't have to be voted for, you don't have to be elected, you don't have to anything. Am Yisrael is a very smart nation. They know who to follow. G'dayla Adar says, You don't enlist. You don't enlist. You sacrifice. Don't use your own mind. Don't use your own understanding. Don't use your own, because your own brain is mixed up with El Vayofi. Don't even give yourself advice. Listen to your own. Ask your own. That's why it's so vital to be careful to be makabel the aces of Rabbeinu, because you're absolutely, this is the episode. This is even makabel the seed of a tzaddik is Pinas Yitzur. You're marrying him, and the Asa is completely clean, completely pure, which means that everything that will come out of you is Hashem, or be infused with the kedusha and purity of the tzaddik. Listen, we all bring, dirty linens to the table. What can we do? We are who we are. Especially us who are the tshuva that came from afar. I mean, we're a mixed bag, and this one, whatever it is. When you adhere to the eights of the tzaddik is already misaken et tikunim. It's a great secret of the Bilam. So what was the koyach of Bilam? Bilam knew when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was angry, right? So when the bracha comes from above, the bracha comes in before it's formative, Bilam will capture it there. It says the level of before is the level of Keser of comets. Comets means fisted. When the bracha, Kadosh Baruch Hu, is still fisted, it still can be formed this way or that way. But when it goes weiter, it goes into the Chochmah, because it opens up. It's Pinas Tere. Then it's already formative. You cannot undo it. Bilam said, I looked, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to catch it at the level of Baruch, with the comments. It's already tzareh. The law shivena, I can't undo it. In other words, when Moshe Rabbeinu says, look at what amazing miracle HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for you. Bilam HaRasha, he didn't let it curse you. Look, what's the big deal? He was I don't want you to listen. What's the big miracle there? The miracle is that Kadosh Baruch Hu pre-formatted the bracha before it came down. It's an impossibility. This is what the tzaddik does for, because our kelim, it also says it, if you could love us, our kelim, our vessels, our way of accepting information and processing it and judging it, and setting policies for us and for our children accordingly is damaged. Our kelim are damaged according to how much we're affected by Hevel HaYofi. So when we get it from the tzaddik, we get it already pre-formatted. Amati hava barech v'nei beirach v'lo shivena. The tzaddik already gives it to you pre-formatted, so that my own kelim are not able, to foul up the eights of the tzaddik ever. This is why it's a total must to adhere to the tzaddik. It's not enough to say, okay, I'll go to somebody with his elachri, that's good enough for me. I should be like him first, and then I'll worry about, No. According to the way a person knows how low he is how much he has to be careful to go dafka to the greatest tzaddik there is. Because you need to get the zera, you need to get the kernel, you need to get the seed. And the seed is Lefia Hevel, according to the purity of the heaven. What is the purity of the heaven? How divorced it is from Hevel HaYofi. Appreciate somebody else. At Hashem, Hashem should help us. Have a good Shabbos. The Mesiras Teis. Bezat Hashem. Always look at just claw onto the tzaddik, the grab hold, never let go. As Rick Nosson said that they ever told him, I chapped you, I grabbed you, I kidnapped you. So it also says, tie me up real well so that I'll never escape.
Put you in the sack.
Yeah, put you in a sack. So, tie me well.
Got you in the sack.
Yeah.
Hang on to the rope.
Tie me well so I'll never escape. Shabbos and Kol Tov.